Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Truckers Podcast, FYI Conversations Without Barriers. Hope everybody's having a good weekend. Now, I just want to uh, get on this topic just a little bit here about our election that we held a week ago. And to all my fellow Canadians, our Indigenous people across this great nation that we call home, Canada. Canada has spoken. While the election results may leave some feeling frustrated, it is crucial that we uphold the principles of democracy and work together for a stronger, united Canada. Conversations around separatism, though present, do not define Alberta, nor do they reflect the majority of Albertans who remain committed to Canada's unity. We must also recognize the foundational role of Indigenous peoples in this country and the significance of the treaty rights, which predate provincial boundaries and remain central in our shared future. Now is the time for constructive dialogue, collaboration, and ensuring that all provinces, and particularly Indigenous communities, have a meaningful voice in shaping Canada. Division weakens us, but unity, respect, and the honoring of our treaties strengthen our democracy and the fabric of our nation. Yes, there are people out there that have discourse about the results of the election. But on the other hand, you have a individual in office, the premier of Alberta, stoking this idea of separation because she has grievances with the federal government. This is a small far right fringe of people who are not happy with the results and the outcome of the federal election. Here's a reality check for people like that. Sometimes we don't get things that we want in life. That's just a reality. That's why our democracy here in this country works. Our voting system works. People go and vote and hope for the best outcomes. I vote in every election, whether it's municipal, provincial, or federal. Sometimes the election doesn't go the way that I wanted it to go, but I don't hold grievances. I just move on and vote again when the election time comes up to vote again. Anyway, and of course, this coming early week, Tuesday, I guess it's going to be, Prime Minister Mark Carney will be traveling to the United States to meet with the Trump administration. We'll see how that goes. Hopefully it goes well. It should go well. Now, with this trade war that continues to go on, no end in sight just yet. Canada's economic independence, thriving beyond United States trade. For decades, Canada and the United States have been tightly linked in trade. But does Canada truly need American market to thrive? Today, we're diving into Canada's remarkable ability to stand on its own in the global economy. Welcome to the Truckers Podcast, FYI, Conversations Without Barriers, where we explore the story shaping Canada's future. I'm your host, Doug. And today we'll uncover why Canada isn't just surviving. Canada's strengths in global trade. Many people assume Canada's economy depends on its trade relationship with the United States. But the truth is, Canada is building a powerful and diversified economy that stands strong globally. Let's break down the key factor fueling Canada's independence: natural resources and energy superpower. Canada is rich in oil, minerals, timber, exporting these resources worldwide. Strategic trade partnerships. Canada has secured trade deals with the EU in Asia and Latin America, opening doors beyond North America. Technology innovation with booming hubs in the AI, biotech, and clean energy. Canada is shaping the industries of the future. In their financial stability, Canadian banks rank among the most secure globally, reinforcing Canada's economic strengths. Canadian success stories. Let's talk about some standout Canadian companies providing that success isn't tied to the United States markets. These businesses have expanded internationally and refined Canada's global presence. Shopify, a Canadian tech giant, empowering businesses in over 175 countries. Bombardier, a leader in aerospace, securing major contracts in Europe, Asia. Magna International, supplying auto parts to leading automakers worldwide, including Volkswagen and BMW. Canada's ability to operate independently didn't happen overnight. It was shaped by key historical milestones that solidified its sovereignty. 1867, Confederation Canada gained self-governance from Britain. 1931, Statute of Westminster, full legislative independence. 1982, Constitution, repatriation, and Canada officially separates from the British authority, strengthening its ability to create independent trade policies. A bigger picture and what it means for Canada's future. So what does Canada's growing economic independence mean in the long run? The shift away from the United States reliance has a significant implications. greater economic resilience. Canada can better navigate global financial shifts without over-dependence on the American market. Global influence and leadership. Canada is expanding its presence in clean energy, AI, and emerging industries, stronger political autonomy, less reliance on the United States trade, means greater freedom in policy making. Canada is proving that it's not just a strong economy, it's a leader in innovation, sustainability, and global trade. And as the world evolves, Canada is positioned to thrive with or without the United States. Canada has several additional strengths. It will thrive without relying on the United States trade, expanding trade with Asia. Canada has strengthened economic ties with Japan, South Korea, opening up massive markets for export. The booming film and entertainment industry, strong domestic manufacturing. Canada produces high-quality goods, including aerospace, automotive, and pharmaceuticals, reducing reliance on imports. Independent defense industry. Canada manufactures military equipment and technology, supplying allies worldwide. Our growing e-commerce sector. Canadian businesses are expanding online, reaching global customers without needing the United States distribution. Our renewable energy leadership. Canada is investing heavily in wind, solar, and hydroelectric power, positioning itself as a global clean energy supplier. Our agricultural innovation. Canada is developing advanced farming techniques, increasing exports of sustainable food products. Expanding tourism industry. Canada's natural beauty and cultural attractions throughout visitors from Europe, Asia, and beyond. Global financial influences. Canadian banks and investment firms operate internationally, reinforcing economic independence. Strategic Arctic presence. Canada's control over Arctic resources and shipping routes strengthens its global trade decision. Canada's ability to succeed independently is driven by innovation, strategic investments, and strong global trade relationships. Canada has even more reason why it can thrive without relying on the United States. Here are some additional factors that contribute to its economic independence. The booming AI and tech industry. Canada is a global leader in artificial intelligence with research hubs in Toronto, Montreal, and Vancouver, attracting international investments. Expanding space industry. Companies like MDA, makers of the Canadian arm, are involved in global space exploration. Projects reducing reliance on the United States partnership. Strong cybersecurity sector. Canada is developing advanced cybersecurity solutions, serving governments and businesses worldwide. The independent pharmaceutical industry. Canada produces and exports medical supplies and pharmaceuticals to Europe and Asia, and our growing green hydrogen market. Canada is investing in hydrogen energy, positioning itself as the leader in clean fuel exports. Our luxury goods and fashion. Canadian brands like Canada Goose have strong international markets beyond North America. Our expanding wine and beverage industry. Canadian wines, our craft beers, our spirits, are gaining popularity in Europe and Asia. Innovation, agricultural, and food tech. Canada is pioneering sustainable farming techniques and plant-based food production for global markets. Strategic Arctic trade routes. As the Arctic ice melts, Canada is positioning to control key shipping routes, opening new trade opportunities. Our independent cultural exports, Canadian music, film, and our interprovincial trade barriers in Canada could create a more seamless and efficient economy. Because we're talking about this right now here in Canada, of our interprovincial trade barriers. Opening the trade between provinces in our territories that could create a more seamless and efficient economy, allowing business to operate across provinces without unnecessary restrictions. Here is how one trade solution could benefit Canada, boost economic growth, eliminate trade barriers, will increase Canada's GDP by billions, making it easier for business to expand nationwide. We'll be able to improve labor mobility. Workers could move freely between provinces without facing different certifications requirements, helping industries fill labor shortages, reduce business costs. Companies wouldn't have to navigate different regulations in each province, lowering operational expenses, strengthen domestic supply chains. A unified trade system would make it easier for Canadian businesses to source materials and products from within the country. And increase competitiveness, Canadian business could operate more efficiently, making them stronger competitors in the global markets. Prime Minister Mark Carney and provinces, premiers across Canada, and of course our three territories. Federal government is looking to open up the free trade across the provinces at the federal level, and calling on all premiers, all provinces, to do the same. And they've had this discussion, the premiers and the prime minister have had this discussion before the election. So the Canadian businesses could operate more efficiently, making them stronger competitors in the global markets. Efforts like the Canadian Free Trade Agreement, the CFTA, a recognition agreement of the MRAs have already started. Reducing these barriers, but a full-on trade solution will require further harmonization and regulations and policies. Implementing one trade solution in Canada, removing interprovincial trade barriers would require significant coordination between provinces and the federal government. Here's how it could be done and the challenges involved. Regulatory harmonization. Provinces would need to align regulations such as licensing requirements, product standards, and taxation policies to create a seamless trade environment. Infrastructure improvements addressing freight costs, transportation networks, and logistical barriers would be crucial to ensuring smooth movement of goods and services. And the standardized certificate and labor mobility professionals and workers should be able to move freely between provinces without needing to recertify under different provincial rules. And the digital trade integration, a unified digital system for trade documentation, taxation, and compliance could streamline businesses' operations across provinces. Federal and provincial collaboration and governments would need to work together to create binding agreements that prevent provinces from imposing new trade restriction challenges. Involve political resistance. Some provinces may be reluctant to give up control over their own trade regulations, fearing economic disadvantages. And regional economic differences, provinces with different industries and economic strengths may struggle to find common ground on trade policies, legal and bureaucratic hurdles, existing laws and agreements. See, these are some of the hurdles that we may have to get over, but I really don't see a really huge issue with that. I mean, if Canada, wants to be serious, you know, um, not just, looking at other markets around the world, but the markets within the country and what every single province and territory has to offer one another. From aluminum, steel, and minerals to food and wine and craft beers, um, and other commodities that I think each and every province, can benefit from. So getting over these bureaucratic hurdles, existing laws, agreements, we need to, which will need to be revised, which could take some time to negotiate public and business adaptation. Businesses and consumers would need time to adjust to new trade policies and pricing structures, balancing provincial interest and sharing that all provinces benefit equally from the changes. It would be a complex challenge. Despite these challenges, removing interprovincial trade barriers could significantly boost Canada's economy, increase productivity, and lower costs for businesses and consumers. Several industries in Canada would benefit significantly from removing interprovincial trade barriers, creating a more unified country. Here are some key sectors that would see major advantages, industries that would benefit: agriculture and food processing. Farmers and food processing could still sell their goods more easily across provinces, reducing cost and expanding market access. Manufacturing and automotive companies like Magna International could stream supply chains and reduce logistical hurdles when moving products between provinces. Construction and infrastructure and housing. We have a vast forestry in lumber. Now, Reducing costs, that's very important, obviously. Even I mean, look at how things have gone up so much, from your basic needs to if you can afford, luxury items, but just your standard cost of living, your housing needs, so your housing costs, look how much that's gone up. Groceries, maybe your utilities and everything has gone up. So companies like Magna International could streamline the supply chains and reduce logistical hurdles in moving products between provinces, and the construction infrastructure standardized regulations would allow construction firms to operate more efficiently across provincial borders, reducing project delays. Retail and e-commerce businesses could expand their customer base stations without facing different provincial restrictions on product distribution. Alcohol and beverage industries, removing restrictions on interprovincial alcohol sales would allow wineries, breweries, distilleries to reach more customers. Healthcare and pharmaceuticals, easier recognition of medical credentials would allow healthcare professionals to work across provinces, addressing labor shortages. Energy and natural resources, the provinces could cooperate more effectively on energy projects, including renewable energy initiatives, technology, and innovation tech startups, and AI firms could scale up more easily without facing different provincial regulations. And the transportation and logistics, harmonizing trucking and transport regulations would reduce costs and improve efficiency for shipping goods across Canada. Our hospitality and tourism, a unified trade system, would make it easier for travel businesses to operate nationwide, boosting tourism revenue. There's a lot of things packed in here, but with collaboration, and with the federal government. See, the federal government wants to remove the federal interprovincial trade rules at the federal level. He wants this done by July 1st. And he's calling on all provinces and premiers to do the same. And they've talked about this even before the election. And this is a good thing. It's needed. In these times, and what we're facing down the road in the future, Canada is thinking outside the box. Our faults when it comes to trade: yes, we had a big reliance on the United States for trade. Putting most of our eggs in one basket was proved to be a bad idea. When you have a lunatic in the White House who has grievances with every country in the world, even land in countries where there's no habitat of humans. He's pissed off the polar bears and he's pissed off the penguins, placing tariffs on them as well. Mark Carney is meeting the President of the United States on Tuesday, flying to Washington. The first meeting together. And this is so important too, ladies and gentlemen. This is so important here in Canada and for all Canadians and our Indigenous people. That unity, pulling together, staying together is strength. And like I said at the beginning of the show, um, and I'll read it again. And as you know, we've had our federal election here in Canada last Monday. And just a reminder to people, to all Canadians, that our electoral system is strong and secure and it works. The freedom to vote in a federal election or a provincial election, in a municipal election, is important. That's a democracy. Canada has spoken. While the election results may leave some feeling frustrated, it is crucial that we uphold the principles of democracy and work together for a stronger, united Canada. Conversations around separatism, though present, do not define Alberta, nor do they reflect the majority of Albertans who remain committed to Canada's unity and our sovereignty. We must also recognize the foundational role of Indigenous peoples in this country and the significance of the treaty rights, which predate provincial boundaries and remain central in our shared future. Now is the time for constructive dialogue, collaboration, and ensuring that all provinces, and particularly Indigenous communities, have a meaningful voice in shaping Canada. Division weakens us, but unity, respect, and the honoring of our treaties strengthen our democracy and the fabric of our nation. This is a small, far-right fringe of individuals stoked by the Premier of Alberta, Danielle Smith, of separation, passing down some sort of a vote just to the people of Alberta. It's kind of, pulling herself back, but still stoking the fire. I mean, you're free to leave Canada. I mean, if you don't, like it here, you're upset because, I'm sorry that you're, the election didn't go your way. Here's another reality check. We don't always get what we want in life, and that's just a reality. These small far-right fringe separatism people, they don't speak for all Albertans. That's just the way it is. You don't hear from any other province across this great nation of ours or our territories. People who have discourse, you don't hear it anywhere else. There seems to be more of the far right in the West, because we're not hearing it from the East Coast. We're not hearing it out of Quebec. We're not hearing it out of Ontario, Newfoundland, Labrador, St. John's, New Brunswick. We're not hearing it anywhere else, except for one person stoking this, and that's the Premier of Alberta. The Indigenous people of Alberta, the chiefs, have sent a letter to Danielle Smith to cease and desist. It's calling on the federal government to put Alberta in line. And they also said, if you don't like our great land, this great nation, you're free to leave. Now, you're either Canadian or you're not. You either stand up for unity and our sovereignty or you don't. Get over your grievances. And this is why elections are so important. This is why it's so important to go and vote. I vote in every single election. Municipal elections, provincial elections, federal elections. I don't always get the outcome that I'm looking for, but I certainly don't have any grievances over it. I vote, and I will continue to vote, and I'll vote in every election. Doesn't mean that whoever I vote for is going to win the election. And if they don't, well, that's just the way it is. Canadians, you know, when we have, like, this is, this federal election that we had is probably the most consequential election in our lifetime. The threats from the South threaten our sovereignty, thinking that we're just a piece of land and we can just take whatever the fuck we want. Pardon my French. Annex Canada. Insulting Canadians. Listen, whether it's Trudeau, whether it's Mark Carney, whether it's Pierre Poilievre, or whoever the case may be who would be Prime Minister of this country, when you insult the Prime Minister of Canada, you insult Canadians. And that, ladies and gentlemen, I will not stand for. I am Canadian. and a proud Canadian. And I'm proud of Canadians, and I'm proud of their Indigenous people. I am Canadian. We don't need this rhetoric in this country. I gotta say to people, these far right fringe, if you don't like it, leave. Together, we are strong. Together builds unity, prosperity. This is a sovereign nation and a proud one. I don't get out here very much, ladies and gentlemen. I've been, throughout this, you know, throughout the election period, it was something like 36 days for, uh, politicians to get out there and tell Canadians what we should do, why you should elect me. I'm not really a political guy. So I just, kind of just remained on the sidelines. There's like even throughout the whole 36 days of this election, there's a lot of political talk, obviously, and I wasn't really going to get involved in it. I already knew the path that I was going down. I already knew which way I was going to vote. I mean, I could have come out here every single day. Well, not every single day, but on weekends too, and stuff like that, and discuss what's going on. But sure, but now just to come out here after the federal election and to sit back and just watch what's going on, around the country, and when when someone when someone comes along and another saying what Canadians use, poke the bear, that's not a good idea right now. It really isn't. We're just fresh out of this election, and we've got a long road ahead of us. These, just because Prime Minister Mark Carney is going to meet with Donald Trump on Tuesday, it doesn't mean these tariffs are going to come off immediately. There's going to be some really serious negotiations going on here, and we got to let this ride out. Right? It's, we're dealing with, in my mind, we're dealing with, an unstable individual. And that's Trump and the rest of his cronies. Let our team, our Canadian team, our government deal with this. I mean, Prime Minister Mark Carney is one of the most recognized economists in the world. Governor of the Bank of Canada, Governor of the Bank of Britain. He's dedicated his whole career to economics. He knows what the hell he's talking about. Trump doesn't even understand 101 economics or any economics. We have a very strong team, a very strong negotiation team here at the federal level. Let them do their job. Allow them to do their job. And none of this rhetoric, about separatism. It's childish. It's ridiculous. Thank you for joining me this Sunday morning. And we'll move on to other topics. And one topic, when I have been out here talking about stuff, is homelessness. That'll be for another day. And you're probably sitting there saying, when? Another day. Tomorrow morning at 8:30 a.m. I'll get that show posted up sometime this afternoon. Talk about where I feel where we're at and what needs more to be done. I actually even put a letter together to address municipal governments, provincial governments, and the federal government. And I'll read that aloud tomorrow morning. So enjoy the rest of your weekend. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. And 8:30 tomorrow morning, I'll have that, like I said, I'll have that posted up sometime this afternoon. And yeah, join me tomorrow morning at 8:30. This is the Truckers Podcast, FYI, Conversations Without Barriers. I'm your host, Doug. Thank you for joining me. Take care and be safe.